Howdy-ho, everyone! Lassie here, back in action for more. The Great Ace Attorney 2, Resolve Attraction. That's right! We are trying to get done with the Some Beast examination and prove that something else could have done it. And that means pressing forward. What juror number 3 has been saying.
Hold it!
When you say extinguish everything in the house, do you mean even on different floors? Oh yes, all floors are connected to the same pipe, after all. That's true of every building, as gas supplying contracts are issued for whole properties. Well, I had no idea it was possible to extinguish gas appliances simply by pulling down the pipe. Not something we'd like to publicize, to be honest. We have to carry out these investigations, as I'm sure you can appreciate. Indeed, has been mentioned on more than one occasion in his papers. Is that so? Been mentioned to me too, very recently. Incident involving the gas stove going out inexplicitly, almost leading to someone's death. Mr. Naruto, I think perhaps... Yes, it's finally starting to fall into place. The secret link that joins all of these strange occurrences. Okay, what does it say? Serves for me. That doesn't matter. There's no other explanation, is there? There is. There is, dear sir.
Objection!
Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious! To whose statements do you refer, Consul? Juror number 6. Did you hear what juror number 3 just said? What? Yes, of course. I heard him mumbling about something or other. There is another explanation here, I believe. Something besides Mr. Natsume's tea did, in a manner of speaking, passed the victim's lips on the night in question. What? What explanation? I wonder, did the police check the mouth of the gas pipe feeding the wall line at the scene? To see if there are any traces of poison there. I was curious to see what your floundering would result in this time. With the mouth of a gas pipe. Scotland Yard had enough to do without exploring such irrelevance. What a piece of work is a man! What are you trying to say, Mr. Shamspeare? What speaketh thou, pray thee? Is it not strange and strange? That is, what I say to thee, sir. Thought I'd been quite clear. Let me put it another way. The cyanide could have been on the mouth of the gas pipe that feeds the wall lamp in your room. And that is how the poison came into your body. Good lord! Are they tasty then? Gas pipes? Is that what he's saying? Was the gentleman suggesting that the poor man was so desperately hungry he tried to fill his belly with gas? Perhaps no actress would perform a kiss scene with him, For shame, madam! Speak thy fancy. I assure you I'm not such a buffoon that I would have a kiss. Pipes.
Objection!
This is no summation examination. This is a farce. The prosecution will not stand for any more of my learned Nipponese friend's conjecture. To begin with, the lamp in the victim's room is high on the wall. In order to have placed his lips in the pipes that feeds it, it would have been a contortionist. These are empty assertions. There's no possible proof the man did as you say.
Objection!
It's true. I have no proof that Mr. Shamspeare put his lips to the pipe. However, I can say that with some certainty that on multiple occasions, Mr. Shamspeare has been doing something in front of the lamp on his wall. And I have evidence to prove it. Alright, you got my attention, lad. Like to see how you can be so sure of yourself. And so would I. Let's see this evidence then. I got the jury's ear. To make this opportunity count. This is proof that time and time again, Mr. Shanswood stood in front of the gas pipes. These one, right? Want to examine it. Oh, it's there. All up in there.
Take that!
What the? These are... Wait, what are they called? Yes! Skin prints that were found at the scene. Skin prints, Counsel? Never heard of such things. The Justice Ministry is currently assessing whether or not to permit fingerprints as evidence in court. However... My lord, this is exciting new forensic technique developed by the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. It reveals all the places that Mr. Shamspeare touched in his room. Never seen anything like it. I mean, that's black magic, isn't it? Well, if anyone could invent something like this, it's that great Sholmes fellow, that's for sure. I agree. This month's edition of Engineering Thumbs was quite fascinating. We found skin prints in many places that you would expect. On the table, on the costumes. However, Mr. Shamspeare also appears to have been touching some very unexpected place in his room. For example, here. Around the hanging picture, there. Indeed. Around the hanging picture there. Indeed. Multiple handprints appear to be visible. Well, I wonder, could he have been appreciating the artwork, perhaps? At first, my colleagues and I thought the same. However, imagine standing with your hands where those prints are, and you would find yourself directly in front of... I don't believe it! The gas lamp! The reason why isn't immediately obvious. It's clear that Mr. Shamspeare was regularly been standing with his hands to the wall in front of that lamp. Right. What have been up to, you nut? I asked the court to recall juror number 4's earlier statement. Me? What did I say? You said that blowing into the gas pipe would make the lights in the entire building flicker. Now, if you'll recall juror number 3's statement. What? Me now? When the gas worker who visited this home blew with too much force into the pipe, it caused all the lights in the gas stove to go out, and gas to start leaking into the rooms. Obviously, that incident was an accident. However, the simple fact is, if Mr. Shamspeare were to have blown hard into the gas pipe here in his room, he could have extinguished every other light and gas stove in the building at will. Cranky! Are you suggesting that the man purposely caused the gas to...
Objection!
Whilst I acknowledge that the prosecution is required to remain silent during a summation examination, I must toast my learned friends utter disregard for the letter of the law. What is the meaning of this, Lord Van Zieks? This curious photograph, or whatever it is, presented by the defense, the so-called skin prints? Clearly, it cannot be accepted as any form of usable evidence in this case. But what is exciting new forensic technique developed by a great detective? It's nothing. A mere toy developed by an amateur sleuth with too much time on his hands. Clearly, even research of this nature by the esteemed Mr. Sholmes cannot be recognized by the court as formal evidence. What? Please, my lord, if I may. Mrs. Sato? Was not the defense's intent to submit the skin prints as formal evidence. We merely wish to present the results of the great detective's investigation of the scene, as a tool by which to explain a possibility to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. And, if the trial were to come to an end now, we should never learn the truth behind these mysterious handprints that everyone has now seen. I don't believe we can allow that to happen, and I'm sure the jurors would agree. Hold it! You're right! Whether those strange handprints are a significant clue or not, it's down to us to decide. Juror number 3? Oh yes, I do declare the Great Detective's investigation results sound absolutely fascinating. And I want to hear what that shady actor fellow has to say about those shady handprints. Oh, would you look at that? They have tipped a bit in our favor. What's the matter with you two? That was foolhardy. Well, I did say it, didn't I? I don't like to break a promise. No, wait! You heard his lordship. It's not fair to me to... Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo! Sato is just kind of the goat of the game, I'm gonna be real. Like, he'd be useless without her. Just one more jury changes his or her mind. Mr. Natsumi's trial will have to continue. Thank you, Mr. Sato. But I couldn't have done it without you. Oh no, it was you who identified the clue after all. It is very much your success. Why, Mr. Shakespeare? You're gonna be losing your composure. It's one more juror, Mr. Naruto. You can do it! Very well, continue, Counsel. Man of logic and having considered all the evidence, most logically be guilty. So these I don't need to pursue. Gas doesn't come free, it costs a fortune to deliver it around the city and maintain the pipes. Oh my god, are you serious? Sketchy at times. It is literally the one statement that made the most not sense.
Hold it!
You mean it's poisoned? That's right. It's happened a few times now. This is most troubling indeed. It's always days like this when I don't get any wages. Getting at tea time, see? I see her doing it. My wife. She gets that devilish look on her face. Slips some white powder into my cup. And you drink it anyway? I was brought up proper, I was. Someone gives you a cup, you drink it. What happened to you? What did it taste like? It was god awful, believe you me. Salty as hell. I think perhaps what your wife put in your tea was salt. No! So, doesn't even care enough to poison me properly? Unbelievable. Let's move on, please. So not that. Not him. I thought for sure that'd be something. Alright, if he's logical, let's see if we can get him again. Let's try to get his ass. Huh. Well, we'll press him first. We can press him, it's fine. All the evidence, you say? That's right. There's no room for doubt. It's all pointing at the Japanese man with a big mustache. There's the English man with the bigger mustache. But the defense just demonstrated another possible explanation for the events of the night in question. What do you make of that? What? Your so-called skin prints? The exciting new forensic technique, developed by the great detective himself. The numerous handprints on the wall are clearly out of the ordinary. And if Mr. Shamspeare had indeed put his mouth to the gas pipe on the night in question, then it can't be denied that there's a possibility that that's where the poison was. Well, yes, I won't deny that's playing on my mind. But as the prosecution rightly says, we should pay no heed to unacceptable forms of evidence. Besides, yes, even if the fellow was up to his own mischief with the gas pipe dozens of times before, doesn't mean he got up to the same shenanigans on the night in question, does it? Oh. You can't make your case better than that. I'm afraid I can't change my stance. You do make a very valid point, sir. What? Huh, that's true. Perhaps I was a little hasty. No, wait! Look, you got your chance here, haven't you? So it's time to prove your theory. If you and your Japanese cohorts can, that is... Just leave our nationality out of this, please. Mr. Nardo, you can't sustain your position. I'm afraid the jurors that changed their minds before may very well change them back. What can I do? Is there any proof I could give here? Can I show that Mr. Shamster really did blow down the gas pipe the night in question? I have supporting testimony. I do have that. Let me look at court record real quick, though. Let's see what testimonies we have. No. Obviously mentions the poison as well as other details. Newspaper, Belswilden. I think supportive testimony is the best I could come up with. No, in truth, I don't have evidence to support my theory. However, there is witness testimony that sustains it. What's that? Testimony? This is incredible. Whose testimony? Yes, it's all connected. Everything is linked. The person whose testimony revealed details about the gas and Garbodin residence that night. Namely, him.
Take that!
Obviously, I'm talking about the defendant. Mr. Sasaki-san Natsume himself. The defendant? At the very beginning of the proceedings here in court yesterday, Mr. Natsume said the following. My lodgings! There's been a whole series of strange happenings in my lodgings! Even on the fateful night it happened, when I returned from Mr. Shamspeare's room, I lit my gas stove and climbed into bed, but before long, the stove went out, and somebody tried to kill me! On the night in question, the gas in the defendant's room went out. So I asked the court, was that a mere coincidence? Or not? Good golly! So that Shamspeare fellow blew air to the gas pipe to make the man's stove go out on purpose? Now hold your horses there. What will you do that for? Mr. Foreman! What is it, man? Don't allow judgment to pass whilst this doubt remains. It's true that I don't have conclusive evidence yet. However, you must surely agree, there is more to this case than meets the eye. He's actually one of the most reasonable NPCs out here. I'm generally surprised that we could always count on him to keep his word about shit, you know? Fair enough. Like I said at the outset, a man of logic first and foremost. Yay! We did it! We did it! We did it! It's 4 jurors leaning towards not guilty, my lord. You've overturned the decision. Therefore, the defense calls for the trial to continue. As the defense has rightfully indicated, summation examination has concluded with a majority of jurors alternating their decisions. 2 jury members now called guilty, or now call not guilty. Therefore, the jury's opinion is conflicted. In accordance with the law of this land, I hereby order the continuation of this trial. Mr. William Shamspeare. My lord, how can thy humble Shamspeare serve thee? What say you respond to the various revelations made during the summation examination? So God mend me, I do solemnly swear, I recall aught of neither the lamp or the pipe. Well, your handprints had made a tidy mess all over the wall there. How do you explain that, eh? I am done with this. The dignity of this great courtroom has been sullied enough already. Juror number 5. Who, me? As I went to some pains to point out already. A print from the self-professed detective's toy has no place in the British court of law. As such, whether or not this man did indeed stand before the gas lamp with his hands against the wall remains, at this time, unestablished conjecture. We'd all do well to remember that.
Objection!
But the prosecution must concede that it would be extremely simple to verify. Just order the mouth of the gas pipe feeding that lamp in Mr. Shamspeare's room to be examined. There are traces of poison there.
Objection!
What appears to be extremely simple is my Nipponese friend's mind. You will recall that in order to check for the presence of poison in the tea, some remnants of tea were required. Yes? Therefore, it shouldn't be beyond your wit to imagine that if poison would have been spread onto the pipe, it would have completely evaporated by now, making any analysis impossible. I didn't think of that. In any case, counsel, I fail to see what could possibly have motivated the man. Do as you describe. Why on earth would this fellow have wanted to blow air into the gas pipe work where he lived? There's only one possibility I can think of, and that is to use a leaking gas to commit murder. Order! Order! Counsel? Precisely whose life do you propose this man was plotting to end? As it couldn't be simpler. How you unravel the mystery this far? Mr. Shamspeare wanted to end the life of...
Take that!
If the gas lamp were to go out, he noticed immediately, of course. But a gas stove, on the other hand, would be silently extinguished by the killer without anyone noticing. I live around those parts myself. I know what it's like. I tell you, trying to sleep without the stove lit is pretty much suicide. You freeze to death in no time. Mr. Garbiden, the landlord, a large fireplace in his part of the residence on the top floor. In other words, it wasn't the landlord, but a fellow lodger whose life Mr. Shamspeare was trying to end. Outrageous! I'm talking, of course, about the defendant. Mr. Natsume isn't the villain in this case. He's the victim this man was trying to murder. Good gracious!
Objection!
The accused is actually the aggrieved. Interesting. However, the fundamental facts of the case remain unchanged. Namely, that the accused is the aggressor here. What? How can you still claim that? Let us indulge your fantasies for a moment. and assume that there was indeed poison on the mouth of the gas pipe. The question then arises, is who put it there? Who did put it there? The only logical conclusion is the person responsible was aware of this man's trickery with the gas supply and his intent to kill. Yes, that would indeed seem logical. If the assailant were unaware, how would he or she have known to lace the end of the gas pipe with poison? But now we must ask, how could anyone have known Mr. Shamspeare's murderous designs? What do you mean to suggest? Naturally. The sole possible answer to that question could be more obvious. Only the man whose life was being threatened could possibly have known. What? In other words, the person who put the poison in the gas pipe, in what was clearly a retaliatory act, can only have been the accused, Mr. Sasuke Natsume. Whatever Mr. William Shamspeare may or may not have contrived to do, it was nevertheless the victim of a potentially lethal poison attack. The only person who could possibly have perpetrated that attack is the accused, Mr. Natsume. The defense counsel's theorizing has failed to avert suspicion from the accused. Far from it. In fact, none but a clear motive for the poisoning has been successfully established. That suspicion is greater than ever. Would you not agree, my Nipponese friend? How did you manage to turn that around on me so rapidly? Mr. Naruto, you must respond. Otherwise, the members of the jury may very well change their leanings against us again. And this may be our last chance to gain the advantage. What advantage? Well, it would seem that somebody poisoned on the gas pipe in Mr. Shamspeare's room. We must name the person now to absolve Mr. Natsume's of guilt. You mean, name the true culprit? I know it might sound impossible, but we fail to do so. I have no doubt that Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed once and for all. As it happens, one possible culprit does come to mind. The evidence, the poison. It's all pointing to a particular poison person now. The prosecution calls for the jury to consider their leanings again. I trust you'll have the correct choice this time, Mr. Fullman. What? Oh, don't you worry.
Objection.
We know exactly. There is one other person who I believe could have been involved in all of this. The true culprit of this crime. The true culprit? I'm found only in second-rate novels featuring third-rate great detectives, my Nipponese friend. But why not? This farce has gone on for so long already. I see no reason to cut it short before its disappointing climax. Thank you. Tell us, my learned Nipponese friend, what is your latest theory? Who is the so-called true culprit of this crime? It could be her. That could indeed be her. But it makes so much more sense for it to be him.
Take that!
You claim this person is the true culprit. Highly suspicious, I would say. Yes. Perhaps my learned Nipponese friend should turn these wide eyes of suspicion on yourself. What? Well, it seems to me your reckless reasoning makes you far more than anyone else you could name. A very dangerous man indeed. Ah! Mr. Naruto, please! You must concentrate. I was trying to. Then, you must concentrate harder. Oh, harsh. True culprit of the crime. Could it be her? It's possible. As a result of gas poisoning. No, because he was killed. Quinby Oldman. That's the other one I'm thinking of, or it could be her. But I don't see how she really comes into terms with this. I just don't see it. So...
Take that!
Damn. No, it's not. So, it is that other person there. Alright, I didn't connect all the dots so far, so... It is what it is. It could have been him. That is possible. I don't think it is, but it could very well be him that knew that the other person was causing the poisoning.
Take that!
Really? Oh my god! I'm sucking so hard here. I might actually lose it. I might beef it here. I don't know who the real person is. Is it actually him? It's possible. I think him makes more sense than her.
Take that!
The name of the person responsible for the poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspear is, I believe, Miss Olivia Green. Miss Olivia Green? Miss Olivia Green? I do feel as though I've heard the name of the recent past, Counsel, but I don't recall where. Miss Olive Green? The woman from 6 days ago? The victim in the recent case of stabbing on Briar Road. The incident for which Mr. Natsume was arrested, I hasten to add. Oh! Of course, yes, Miss Green. She was left comatose for some 3 days, I believe. And I heard she regained consciousness 2 days ago. I hardly need remind the court that Mr. Shamspear poisoning took place 3 days ago. Given that the woman was lying comatose in the hospital bed at the time, she appears to have a rather fine alibi. True, on the night the incident occurred, Miss Green was in the hospital, unconscious. From the face of it, it would seem that she couldn't possibly be responsible. But still. My colleagues and I visited Miss Green in a hospital yesterday. We found her in the possession of a bottle of poison. Good gracious! She had a poison? There's another fact that links Miss Green to this case as well. The defense requests that she be brought to the witness stand in order to explain the details to the court. Tell me, Mr. Shamspear. My lord, pray, what be thy bidding? Are you acquainted with Miss Green? No, never heard of her. Judging by the look on Mr. Shamspear's face, I think perhaps he generally doesn't know her. At least, not by name. As the voice of Her Majesty's prosecution here, I adhere to my word. We will see my learned Nipponese friend's farce through to its conclusion. I appreciate that. The prosecution will request a short recess, my lord, in order to subpoena the witness and bring her here. Yes, Miss Olive Green. Indeed, my lord. 1 hour should be sufficient. Very well. I will grant the request. Excellent. I hope. The defense has made a most extraordinary accusation, I must say. But at the present time, I feel the prosecution argument remains largely uncontested. And accordingly, I'm afraid the defendant and his culpability remain the sole subject of this court's attention. Thank you, consuls. We reconvene in 1 hour. Court is adjourned. To be continued. I didn't expect that. I did not. It makes sense, but just at the same time, I was lying too much on the gas company situation because it felt like that would be the case. I'm just so used to not trusting corporations that blindsided me that, like, this poor innocent girl would do it. I'm just like, no, not her. She's my fave. I guess my fave is problematic, fam. Regardless, that ends for today as we continue on our journey to prove our Nipponese friend to be, innocent. Until then, though, thank you for watching. Sayonara. Bye-bye.